it's an interesting concept to think that consciousness is trying to, I don't want to say try, it is being convinced either through personal experience, and I guess maybe a false intuition, perhaps, along with deep societal conditioning over time, specifically that societal conditioning that things are meaningless. Like you
Yeah.
said, like somebody just comes to the conclusion of being alive that, oh man, I'm nothing. There's no, it always seems to be tied with for lack of a better term, an oppressive conditioning to believe that, almost in a way to limit people from identifying the true nature within themselves. And that is to weaken, that is to belittle, that is to keep people in line. And I think that that's active. And they use the trust the experts. Oh, well, this guy has a doctor in front of his name, or this guy has, that specific title, but they're not going to tell you the lobbyists that are funding him to come up with that answer, making it false. Um, Along with the very restrictive, that very constricting uh, war on free speech and different opinions. I mean, it seems like, various platforms don't allow you to engage in that creative, constructive conjecture. It's like it's this way or the highway. And if you can't make your conclusions match with the parameters of what we've provided you, then there's going to be repercussions for it. And so that's kind of a way, that I see, at least in the era that we're living in, kind of a way to curate opinions over time, specifically with, injecting subversively in many ways, but a lot of times not so, that life is meaningless, that there's no purpose to anything. Um,
Right.
we are facing that on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think part of what you're pointing out there is that, like I was talking about the fallibility of the individual and how we're dependent on a larger community that's dedicated to truth to move towards truth as a collective.
yeah,
You're pointing out that um, the collective level also has its fallibilities, right? There are the ways that the collective level can be abused and misguided, and by distorting the collective level, you thereby distort the individual or put pressure on the individual to distort themselves.
correct.
So that's so
Mhm.
that's why when I said um like the whatever median trajectory of the um collective truth seekers is probably always better than the individuals. That's specifically about the people who are generally genuinely seeking truth and genuinely participating in the correct process to do so. And that's sort of a mystical entity, if you will. There's no way to accurately delineate what that would be, but from an omniscient point of view, you could sort of envision that disconnected collective that nevertheless exists. Um, it's very much the case that if you just look at sort of the common collective consciousness, not the subset of collective consciousness that is actually directed towards truth, but the common collective consciousness, the people who are more uh, influenced by that and its trajectory, both its trajectory and those people are going to be way further off than even the people within the truth seeking who are themselves not totally in line with where truth is going, but they're much closer than the common trajectory over here. So it's also true that there's the fallibility on both levels. There's fallibility in the individual, there's fallibility in the collective. And that seems to create, and in some cases does create, a vicious circle and is quite difficult. Um, but And so the but the solution to that is ironically sort of uh what a positive feedback, the opposite of a vicious circle, where the individuals, like with the we were talking about fallibility, where the system puts pressure on individuals to depart from the appropriate path. The individuals who nevertheless choose to sacrifice to truth, operate with integrity, and um, engage in free speech, regardless of the penalties, they are simultaneously creating that collective system amidst themselves and participating in it. So it's the collective level has the ability to pressure downwards on the individual, and the individual has the ability to alter the collective level. So it's there's the
Mhm.
vicious circle aspect, but there's also the powerful aspect of the individual. So it's not actually totally unbalanced.
Yep. That makes perfect sense.